Welcome back, it's week 2 of Just ARTFIGHT 2023, and if you don't know what ARTFIGHT is, I did a super basic explanation of it at the start of my last video, and also the ARTFIGHT info page that I'm going to link in the description is going to do a much better job of explaining than I am in about 3 minutes, so instead of me doing that, we're just jumping in, showing the art that I made this week. Also, stay tuned to the end of the video to see all the incredible art that I received this week, and it is so many, y'all. So many. Thank you. Let's start with this video, and with a little disclaimer, I have never asked any of these artists for the proper pronunciation of their original characters' names. I didn't do it last week, and I admitted that I am a fool for that. I still didn't do it this week, and you know what, at this point it's just not fair if I go out of my way to ask people, so it is what it is. This is an apology hidden as a joke. I hope I pronounce the names correctly. I only think about it when I actually get down to recording, and that's why I forget to ask when I post the art in the first place. I am actually very sorry. I just keep forgetting to confirm. Speaking of things I am sorry about, I do feel a little bad that I picked this character first this week, because the original plan was to revenge the attacks from last week in chronological order, but my character Calliope was part of an amazing cow-themed group attack done by FlazeNBlaze last Friday, and I saw Flaze's own cow-themed character, and I saw that she is a Genshin Impact OC, and I had a vision. No pun intended. This is Chihei, FlazeNBlaze's original character. Again, probably not pronouncing her name correctly, but she is a cow hybrid character living in Inazuma, which is the electro element section of the Genshin Impact map. Chihei has no vision, but she is skilled with the polearm weapon, likely as a result of her time spent as a high-ranking member of the Fatui while living in Liyue. After faking her death and escaping the eyes of the Fatui, she now is an unassuming ice cream vendor for a place in Inazuma called the Milk Bar. She plans to live the rest of her life in peace, or at least as much peace as one can live in when walking in the circles of the Arataki gang. And this one is for you Genshin Impact fans. I just thought Chihei had some really cool lore, some really cute character designs, and I love the combination of bells, braided rope, cow print in this design, and I just really wanted to make it look like the splash art you get when you use Primogems and wish for characters in game, and just sort of match it up with Genshin Impact's sort of art style. And to do that, I was looking at a lot of different pictures, but for most of the features I used splash art of Yae Miko and Raiden Shogun as references, and I feel like that shows pretty strongly, but maybe it's just because, you know, I was able to see the references, so I can see its reflection in my own art. But while I think I got the pose and a lot of the general shapes correct for drawing in the Genshin Impact style, I don't think I quite nailed color contrast and line weight that Genshin Impact art tends to have. I found that my art style is a lot more soft and muted, and you will see me try and change the color adjustment curves, the hue saturation value sliders multiple times in the video to try and account for that, but alas, it's not something I think I ever quite achieve a good match for. But not for lack of trying. I think this is the longest ARTFIGHT video that I have recorded this year, and to be honest, it's one of the longest videos for a single character that I've had in quite a few months. The full recording came in at a little over 5 hours of footage, which is a decent amount of time, and for anyone who had me work shorter on theirs, it's not because, you know, I care more or less about different drawings. It's just that, you know, working in different styles or trying to make a special effort to make the art look like someone else's art takes a little bit longer to figure out, you know, takes a bit of time to push around. Also, I hope FlazeNBlaze that I got her clothing alright. I wasn't sure from the reference image exactly how the back of her outfit looked. There were 3 options that I thought about while in the sketching phase, the first being that it's, you know, sort of robe type clothing where it's just half short, half long, and that's kind of what I did in my drawing. The second thought I had is that maybe it's an asymmetrical outfit where the long side joins up with the short side, like in those high-low dresses from 2013, or maybe this is a full short dress that's underneath this half of the wrapped robe that is like a separate piece of fabric entirely. Who's to say? But I think that's part of the beauty of ARTFIGHT. It's a really really good way to see if your character sheets and drawings are reading as you intend them to. For example, perhaps your character is wearing an earring that looks like a string of beads, but somebody interprets those as beads in the character's hair. Or perhaps they read a shadow and shading as birthmarks, or there's a line that is supposed to be a frown line that gets interpreted as a scar. These are all definitely things that have happened to me while delivering sketches to people who commission me, or when other people have drawn my characters, or when I've drawn their characters. And either way, it's a really great learning opportunity to try and figure out, hey, am I making my drawings clear and readable? Of course, I'm just happy to be getting art of my characters. I'm not particularly keen on the accuracy of outfits or every single little freckle. I just really enjoy seeing the results of everyone's creative processes, and also finding out which characters stand out to people or which character traits people have a tendency to include in their drawing. In a weird way, this character had one of the easiest faces that I have worked on ever. I should probably keep note of what I did for my own drawing process, but honestly, it was just that once I got the face and eye shape down and was happy with the shape of the mouth, everything was pretty straightforward. Genshin Impact faces are relatively simple with very little shading, not particularly complicated eyes, and that makes sense because it's for a video game, and model rigging is a major bag of worms that, you know, I really want to get into someday, but someday. Also, it's not bag of worms, it's can of worms. I know that. I was raised in America. I know American idioms, definitely. But here Chihei is. What a heckin' cutie. I love the colors in this composition, her outfit, it's all incredibly cute. Thank you so much FlazeNBlaze for sharing. And of course, all the links to their socials are in the description. Support artists, it's a cool thing to do. For this week's Friendly Fire, character number 2 is slightly more creature and slightly less character, and by slightly more creature I mean a lot more creature. This is the least human looking character out of all the drawings I have done so far this year, I think. I typically stick to humanoids just because that's what I'm used to, and also I hate drawing fur because it sucks. However, I have been trying to step out of my comfort zone a little bit this week, and I really wanted to get some creatures in. So I picked a creature character that would ease me into the drawing process. This is Just the Quiet Kid's Void Creature of the Water, a creature that is primarily humanoid but with a cat or dragon-like head, and the best part, the creature is covered in scales instead of fur. It's like heaven on earth, a party catered just for me. My prayers have been heard and answered in the form of this really sick creature design. In Quiet Kid's canon, there is a general race of creatures called void creatures from an alternate realm that is not unlike Earth, called Anthea, after the Greek goddess of forests. Void creatures at their full height are over 8 feet tall and have the remarkable ability to adapt relatively seamlessly to the different environments in which they live. Void creatures that live on land have thick digital pads, which is the technical term for toe beans if you were wondering, but they have thick digital pads on their clawed paws and have very large sensitive ears. Void creatures that live in the water, like the one that I'm drawing, do not have digital pads or large ears. Instead, they have developed gills to breathe while under the water-like liquid on Anthea. They have eyes suited for vision underneath the water, and they have fins to help them swim faster. Void creatures live in a swampy rainforest habitat. The land creatures live in hut-like homes made of the forest's materials that are built up in the branches of trees and connected by a multitude of bridges. The water creatures live in these more egg-shaped homes that they've constructed underneath the water and built into the roots of the swamp trees. And you can see in the drawing I'm creating this sort of cage in the neck of the void creature with this purple, blue, and pink glowing inside the cage. All void creatures have a glowing voice box that is visible. Quiet Kids actually looked a bit more amorphous, almost like gooey looking with a sort of bent solid component in it, and I didn't ask specifically about the lore of the voice box in particular, and I wasn't sure if I was reading the image correctly or maybe this is something that can change shape. You know, I just figured it was kind of this funky shape gooey thing, and I thought to myself, hey, you know what is funky in shape and also texture? Vocal cords in real life. So instead of worrying about whether or not I was being very accurate to this glowy shape in the reference image, I decided I would take a small creative liberty and have a little fun and make my little glowy funky voice box look kinda like vocal cords, sorta, kinda, even without being 100% accurate to to anatomy or the reference drawing. I think this glow box is a super cool design element. I had fun looking at anatomical diagrams and drawing little glowy shapes and lines. I just think it's neat. Also, I feel like I've been saying things adjacent to I just think it's neat a lot in my art fight videos this year. I feel like it's something that I also say a lot in real life, but I really do genuinely think it's neat. Please believe me. I do think it would be very funny to do some major compilations of like me saying I just think it's neat, or I really want to make a video of every single time I trail my sentence off with instead of actually finishing it, because that is also something that I do a lot. Even with some of the creative liberties that I took with this drawing in particular, and even though it was one of my shorter drawings, it took about 3 hours, I had a ton of fun with the funky character design. I know humans have a lot of variation to them, so there's a lot of ways to not get bored drawing humanoids, but sometimes you just gotta draw a funky little guy. I mean, he's 8 feet tall, so not that little, but you know, the point still stands. It's nice to have different shapes, different features, different textures, and I just had a lot of fun drawing them. Another thing about different shapes, features, and textures, I always gravitate towards fantasy looking creatures, but here's hoping I get to try some more sci-fi fantasy creatures or steampunk or just straight up modern characters in the near future. Also, I say that like I don't already have like 7 characters picked out that I need to get to, and most of them are fantasy and D&D like characters. But that is just the Quiet Kid's void creature of water. Honestly, I had a hard time picking which void creature I wanted to do, but the little cat mouth on the water creature really just made me so happy I decided I would draw that one. Feel free to check out Just the Quiet Kid's links in the description. There are a lot of fun character designs going on in their galleries. It is good stuff. Last speed draw of this video is, of course, another revenge because I'm absolutely drowning in attacks this year, which is incredible. Thank you very much. That's not a complaint at all. I love sharing all your beautiful work and characters, and I have been having so much fun. Brenilla last week drew my character Ice Gwen, so in turn I decided to draw Granite, or more often sweetly called Gran. She wasn't one of the main featured characters in Brenilla's massive art fight collection of characters, but I saw her sweet little round face and I knew I absolutely had to draw her. She just has such comfort, cozy vibes, and I found a really cute reference picture of a grandma holding pigeons, and I was like, statues and pigeons really go hand in hand. This is a must. Brenilla also pointed out an unintentional pun that I made, as pigeons are also called rock doves, so layers of rocks. It's fantastic. Since we're talking about rocks, here's the short but sweet description of this stone character. Granite is a gargoyle, old and weather-worn, with many little cracks and vines growing all around her. Despite her age, or perhaps because of her age, she couldn't care less about popular opinion, social norms, or other social pressures. All she wants is to have a fun time and enjoy the little things in life, which can be seen as childish. However, she is quite level-headed, albeit a little impulsive when she gets around other cool rocks and architecture, as she is deeply fascinated with them. I think a really neat thing that Brenilla did that I feel like needs to be pointed out is that Brenilla drew most of the references for Gran in the poses of famous sculptures and gargoyles seen in real life, and I think that's a really cool detail. I should have found a statue to pose my drawing of Gran after, and I feel like we could maybe make an argument that there's probably already a sculpture out there that looks like what I'm drawing, but unfortunately I was not that clever and I did not base her pose off of a sculpture right out of the start, but you know what? At least she has some pigeon friends. I think this drawing ended up being about average in terms of how long it took, maybe 3.5, almost 4 hours. It was a very nice change of pace, working in a lot of neutral tones and grayscale, and since Brenilla had made many drawings of Granite in many different poses, it was very easy to figure out what the proportions of things were, where different cracks and marks went. The only thing I took a lot of creative liberty on were the signs of her aging, because, well, rocks don't really wrinkle all that much, so would a several hundreds of years old gargoyle just look young because her appearance is literally set in stone and the only difference might be withering from the environment, or would she actually visually age? Brenilla's personal art style does not involve a lot of line work in the face, so smile lines and wrinkles aren't as often depicted. However, Gran does have this very distinct round nose, and this little reference image right here that Brenilla drew in the bottom right corner of the character sheet is so it's so cute. It's very much Recovery Girl from My Hero Academia, or Sophie when she's gramified in Howl's Moving Castle. So I did my best to make the wrinkles that I put in look like actual cracks or breaks in the stone, but some of them I think just make her look like a soft-faced grandma. But you know what? I'm here for it. Of all the details in this drawing, I think my favorite one is the vines that have grown through the rock and are at this point holding her together, like the one on her horn, her tail, and around her fingers, which you will see me add all the vines in later in this video. I'm not sure if this translates well, but seeing the vines holding her together has the same energy as steampunk prosthetics, where you can see the mechanics, or like video game consoles or controllers that were made of clear plastic so you could see the components on the inside. I just think it's a fun detail. Also, Brenilla mentioned Gran being a backup D&D character that never ended up getting to step onto the stage, but I either missed a detail or there wasn't any mention of what class she was going to be, and at any rate, Gran is giving off hardcore druid or cleric vibes. Either way, just a very loving, nature-connected grandmotherly figure to tell you to make sure you eat enough and have a safe wagon ride home, and to wear a sweater before you go out onto your next adventure because it's going to be cold later and you wouldn't want to get sick, would you? I just have this vision of her and it's very cute. And it's at this point that I think the plain white background is not quite doing it for me, but I'm sort of running out of time in the week to do something very complicated and time consuming, so I do a quick rough background playing with blending and layers and just sort of quickly putting in some color. But that is Gran, or Granite, or Granite, however we want to say it. All credits to character design, as I mentioned, to Brenilla, who also goes by someone you may or may not know. Check out those links in the description for that. And there are our three creatures. I'm really glad I stepped out of the box of traditional fantasy humanoids just a teeny tiny bit with the void creature. I got to try working in a bunch of new colors, a different style, and I feel like I really pushed myself this last week. Hopefully next week I can fit in a few more drawings, but before we end, here's a few more artists for you to check out and support. First of all, of course, the previously mentioned FlazeNBlaze group attack of these cute cows, featuring much beloved Calliope along with a bunch of other super incredible original character designs. I've never been part of a group attack, so I was very honored to be part of this collection of incredible character designs. Thank you so much for the attack, and I hope you liked your revenge, FlazeNBlaze. I also received a revenge back from DrawberryDude, the creator of the character Socks from my last video. DrawberryDude drew Merilith, my very first Merilith attack, and holy moly, she looks amazing. I love the colors, I love this stance. It's very much the correct vibes all around. Thank you so very much. I also received another adorable Calliope, this time from AnimaePanda, and this sort of is an example of the tiny details I never expect people to pick up on or take note of, but there is this small brown spot on the right side of her mouth, our left, her right, but every single drawing of Calliope, I feel like people always include that little tiny dot, and I just really appreciate it. I love it. And also, this is Calliope wearing a Selkie dress, which is 10 out of 10, very much the vibe. Thank you so much. Next is a continuation of a revenge chain with AlderNBone. This time Alder drew Io, and this is incredible. The shapes, the lighting, the colors, all of it makes me so happy, and the reflection of her smile in the monocle really just seal the deal for the whole drawing. I literally gasped when I saw this. Thank you so much, AlderNBone. Next, we have two attacks from SpaghettiBete, or SpaghettiBete, both of Ezra, and this completes the trio, meaning I received at least one drawing of each of the trio members, Merilith, Isegwin, and Ezra, and it's freaking awesome! Especially that it's of Ezra being dreamy and getting to wear dresses and flowers. Do not mistake me, I love Battle Barbarian Ezra. I mean, I drew her that way, but to see her get to wear something cute just scratches a good itch that I had, so thank you very much. And the last mention for the video, despite me already having received more attacks, but I'll save those for next week. Here is another gorgeous Merilith drawing by Forest1JH. The lighting is fantastic. Look at all the little details. You can see her teeth are coming in on the side of her face, and there's snake motifs in her sorcery. That's fantastic. To say that I'm obsessed with this drawing is an understatement. Thank you so much. I love it. And that concludes the second week of ARTFIGHT. Thank you to everyone who has been participating, and also for the many new followers that I've been receiving both on ARTFIGHT and on here. I truly appreciate you, and next week I will be doing my best to get as many new revenges in. I'd love to get some non-revenge attacks in and some revenge chains going, but for the time being, I'm gonna focus on revenges, and hopefully I can get more than 3 drawings done next week, but who knows? Not me.